Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Trekyards. He's Commander Cockings.
We've got a new ship! Hi Stuart. Commander Cockings
Hey.
here, and he's got a Foley.
Yes, and we are going to be talking about a new ship, as he said. Talking about the Infinity.
Not the USS, not the NX, not the ISS, just the Infinity.
Yes.
The absence of any kind of registry moment feels distinct, but we'll get into that. Introducing episode 1 as the big sting. There's a secret ship in Hangar Shoalbay 3. We're using the first 5 episodes as reference here, so we know what happens to it, of course. So spoilers for those that don't know. The thing launches, crashes, becomes a Nebuchadnezzar. By Nebuchadnezzar, I of course mean a time-jumping thing, which we don't know what happens to it yet. So don't put spoilers in the chat unless it's been weeks after. But we're going to look at it in its original space, the intent version, Stuart, as seen in the first couple before it, as it crashes.
It's very interesting. Feels almost non-Federation design. However, it is stated that it's a Federation support courier experimental with a temporal shield emitter and a cloaking device. So I think the lack of registry is quite an important thing, because I don't know if Starfleet necessarily wants this to be known as a thing that is being used. So, but yes, I thought it was an interesting enough design. It feels very non-Starfleet, very non-Trek. It just feels kind of coupled together. But there's like the elements of like the Maquis Raider and stuff in there, which is interesting. So what did you think when you first saw this? We kind of got lots of good views of it. So
yeah, by unlike most of the times we do this, we have like, what views we have over the course of the multiple 5 episodes? Lots. Well, damn. But we start when we first saw it. Yeah, this is when the caveat of the art design of Prodigy comes in. It's very squared off edges. It's the opposite of sleek and refined. I wouldn't say it's bulky, but it's very squared. So it has that cartoon vibe. Almost as if it was, TNG season 1 where we had to save money, so everything's a squared off edge. Versus like a Voyager, like a Rick, like I'd love to see Rick redesign this to add those appropriate Shippian curves. But that's, I guess you could say it's Maquis Raider. Kind of in this view especially, like I could see us being shot from like Alien 4.
Yeah, I was going to say it feels like an alien dropship.
Exactly, but like a space craft version. Like it's fine, of course, and there are other views to come. I'm sort of confused vaguely by the lack of details, but also, as you said, they sort of hang the biggest lantern on. It's not a USS. It's not Starfleet. It's not anything that we know. And the mission, of course, is to go back forward in time and blend in / not be seen on a very advanced Valnacat place, which their spaceships can massacre modern ships. Like they're powerful vessels. Obviously, they're advanced species, and to not affect the timeline. So, of course, if they have 6 months to plan this, they would build something that's basically a duck-blind ship, and therefore everything that Starfleet should be removed from it. So in not looking even an iota like Starfleet, makes sense. But also, darn.
Well, it makes me wonder how much thought was put into this, because it feels like it's hard to get a read on, because they say Jellicoe's trying to cancel our covert mission. You know how hard it is to keep a mission from your crew. So Jellicoe knows about it, but then Janeway's, I don't know. It feels very, very sketchy all around. I would like to know the history behind the ship, how it was developed, and what tech was used necessarily, because it feels like a very specialist ship. And the fact that Jankum called it out as a support courier, it just may be a modified one, but he did say experimental.
Yeah, I got the sense that if I was going to put, $2, I would say it was a civilian craft that they were able to armor up to withstand. Because the point is it can withstand the wormhole, so it has to be small enough, but big enough to have additional tech aboard. I mean, you don't want to be stranded in the future. I mean, Janeway knows about being stranded, so I'm sure it has a little bit of that redundancy, because the plan is that the original Chakotay crew was going to go with Janeway. So it's a pretty specialist group of talented people. It's going to cloak, land, grab Chakotay, leave. That's the basics, but obviously a bit more redundancy. It doesn't necessarily need weapons, necessarily. If it's meant to be, ideally the mission takes place in over a day or less. But the cloak, temporal shielding, which, as they say in episode 4, I believe, that its temporal shielding also protects their timeline from going haywire, which we'll get into a different conversation. So it's and I'm not against temporal shielding. I mean, they developed it in Voyager in Year of Hell. This obviously be more advanced and better. but it's like a small checklist of things it needs, and it does all of them in the story, and then becomes a Nebuchadnezzar. But let's continue going through views. Obviously, I mean, this view certainly it doesn't say anything except honestly a cheap game asset when Jeremy's walking, like how bulky everything is, how like there's no texturing really, it's just metal. Next shot is the top. That's right out of Aliens, dropship with giant cockpit and just I don't love just having metal plates, and you can even see like the scratches. Like, why are there? It's such a texture out of Substance Painter, right? Let's add some slight scrapes to it. It's like, okay, well,
and scratches to the canopy and stuff, and it's like, how often was this used?
It's just gone in the gleaming white. And it's funny because I would have loved this to have been what's called the scout ship from Insurrection, right? It's a good size, good ability, looks beautiful. I like it a lot. Looks different, maneuverable fast. If that had been the ship, bosh. For me personally, that would have been ideal. It wouldn't have been Nebuchadnezzar, but for this mission, that would be perfect. This is a full view, and I brightened up a little bit. Again, very Aliens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very Aliens.
Yeah, seems. It just seems right out of Alien, honestly.
I just don't understand the front bulk with random cut-ins and then random plates. Like, it feels so they had to pad the area with something. I don't mean to be mean, but it does not feel designed. It feels we can't let just a generic space be there. But you could have put transporter emitters, you could have put all sorts of little things that would add, and they just did that.
We would assume that there's something very visible that would indicate a temporal shield, because Jenkins calls it out when they're above it. So I don't know if that front part that's kind of clamped, looks like it's almost clamped on or locked in on both sides, could be that, and that would be obviously different on a starship, which would be a lot larger. You wouldn't notice that.
Yeah, that is a fair point. It had to be visible. Now, of course, anybody in their perfect field will see things that amateurs can't. So there might be a power conduit link. It's like, oh, that would only work in temporal shielding. But you're right, that doesn't make a lot of sense unless it's very specific. There are these two like bulbous, glowy areas at the back, which we'll see in a later shot that might be it. But we'll see. Next view is a combination of other views. The wings are... There were winglets, which certainly confused me in the episode. It's like, where do they come from? I guess they combine and then they come apart, as you can see. And we do get a pretty clear view of engines.
Generally, impulse engines, those type of sublight engines are red in Star Trek, but the blue glow's fine. There's a lot of them, that's for sure. Although those could be the emitters for the temporal shielding. I don't know why they be at the back necessarily, but
this is where keeping to the color-coded nature of Trek really helps, because to have three rows of the like lilac, an off blue. And also looking like little nacelle things at the bottom, which have also glows. Like, that implies that the fact they glow in the same means they're all the same tech. So they're not impulse engines, unless they are, then what, they're red? But then why would you have... They don't... There's a disconnect there, for sure. That I wish they'd kept more with the art design. The two either side be blue warp coils, then the top two be red impulse, if you need that many glows. And so it feels a lack of design there. That I wouldn't take much to rejigger. And that top right view feels like an anime that you've shown me in the past. It feels like a model kit made in Japan anime fighter. Like, very... I've seen that shape before from the back, you know?
Or any kind of video game, honestly. But that shot of it coming out of the hangar from the front, that is so Aliens. That is so dropship. Yeah, we did get some blueprints type orthographics for this.
And this is a funny old one, because they're showing this... These are obviously zoomed in a bit, but these are off to the side on a display. And if you freeze frame at certain points, you can get almost full orthos. So, kind of a cheat code, yeah. But hey, hell of a cheat. So there you go, there's all the shapes.
Yeah, and you can see elements of the Maquis Raider in there, especially those back fins. They're not really fins, but you can see that they kind of start with a Maquis Raider and like layered on top of it to kind of hide shapes, but...
One little note about this sort of thing is that often a graphical design is made before a final design, so they can be just wrong. In Picard Season 3, they were on set, and that's not a problem with doing on-set graphics. They have to be locked in. The Elios is entirely different as the final, because they had to use got 3 days, done. So this might be a different version. Like, this has clear nacelles, which are certainly not viewable. If you go back to that first shot, I do not see nacelles. I do not see any placement for nacelles. Obviously, on the back views, there are sort of nacelles, but they don't even match in every shot. So I like there are nacelles, but I could not see them in other views. And I did not think they were there from other shots in the episodes. But they're very clearly there, which I prefer a lot. I think that helps it.
Yeah. That's an interesting point, actually, because, not many people would necessarily notice that. But, clearly something there. And the one shot that we just looked at of the back from the bottom, where it has the red elements, those could be like those just shrunk down because they feel like they minimize them. But you don't see them from the other two angles. So... yeah.
Yeah, and certainly the way it's presented on the graphics, they forward slung close to the hull. You would see that in the early views, and they are not there. Now, I don't... if they were going to come out, insane amount of... I mean, look how big they are on the graphics. They're giant. The telegraph, the thing where it goes... like, that would have to be a huge amount. And just... that would be a cool shot in the piece. As it comes out, the nacelles retract. So I think they probably messed that up and removed them last minute. Because I don't think they're consistent. And I don't even think they're consistent between different shots. Which, that can also be the case. One shot might have been done in July. One might have been in October. They didn't, whatever. In fact, there's a shot in a later episode that we haven't got to yet where they have a rotating wireframe of the ships. And in one of the camera angles, the pylons didn't render in. There's an error in the model, so there's just pylonless, I think, Dauntless, whichever ship, probably the Voyager A. It's like, that's wrong. That's just a mistake, right? Oops. So I think they just... and I prefer this version better with the nacelles.
It also feels very bird-like from a lot of different views. Like, I'm thinking back to, like, Buck Rogers and Hawk's ship with the wings. It has that kind of vibe, and even a beak. Like, it feels like... yeah. And then there's the coloring. White and blue, apparently, even though in the hangar with the lights in the hangar, it feels very gray and black. But this is that clean, crisp white you were just talking about. And again, this makes it feel very video gamey or anime. It feels like something... it's very striking visual,
It's funny when you see errors. Because, if you go back to the shot with Janeway walking away, you can see the blue of the guy's uniform. That's what blue looks like in that environment, and colour is hit in the same way in the same setup. Those are black plates, and those are blue uniforms. There is no blue on that ship, and then you're right, I didn't even notice that. Cut on. That is a blue and white ship. I guess that's a different group rendered these, because that is not the same. That looks kind of cool, the blue and the white. I think actually it's rather nice, like palette-wise.
And here you can see those back blue elements being very much Maquis Raider.
Yep. Because you can't see any other angle, really? Yeah, they're obscured in every other shot, really.
And the interesting thing, with Jankum and them hanging up top, I think those 4 things on the back, which are quite just stuck on, could be temporal shielding.
I would assume so, yeah.
Because if you noticed it and called it out so quick.
And especially as you could say they were each a single temporal stabilizer, and having 4 gives redundancy, which you might need. See, I like it a lot more in this crashed view. It definitely gives Maquis Raider vibes, which also could have been a really fun thing if they just nicked a Raider and modified it like that. Because that's what they did in season 1. They did things like the Gorn ship, Bird of Prey, things that were the Medusan. This kind of needed to be a canon design, I think. Now having looked at this, a canon civilian design modified versus a anime ship. Kind of degrounds it, and you can justify the cockpit being so different. They just changed the cockpit, right?
Yeah, it's a very tight cockpit as well.
Yeah, very.
So yeah, definitely specific, purpose-built craft.
And then they strip stuff off and it becomes a Nebuchadnezzar. And it becomes entirely different shape, or feeling anyway, which we'll look at, I'm sure, later.
Even attacked by sentinels, it became that much Nebuchadnezzar.
And I'm saying this in a jokey way, like I called Gaius Picard. In Picard Season 3, there is a slight cute element of that. Like, it's Nebuchadnezzar, it's fine. It works. I'm good with that.
In case you know what we're talking about, it's in the Matrix, guys.
Yes, it's the hovercraft.
And they add the generators for time travel.
Yeah, it's grey, it's long, it loses the wings, kind of. It feels like the Nebuchadnezzar and like the other scene. But overall, confusing ship. I think it did the mission profile, but it could have been more Trekian.
I'm glad it's not Federation-y, though, because, it's a cloaked ship. They're not supposed to have that. I kind of think that's interesting that they might have... No hallmarks. There's no Delta with a pinstripe. There's no...
It's not a USS. I mean, that was a very... Well, why do you think they called it Infinity? Because it's a big name to give for it.
Because they're going through a time vortex. I don't know. It's a good question.
That'd be more like Schrodinger or something. So Infinity is not time travel. Infinity is more... For me, it registers with the idea of the quantum realities. Because obviously they would know the season arc. So I think they've named it knowing that the wormhole was the tiniest part of its journey. It's potentially going to take them through multiple... I have no idea, but it could take them through multiple universes, and therefore that makes sense. More sense in the context of the story.
Well, they have referenced parallels already, so...
That's how they're time traveling somehow. But yeah, there you go. That is the brand new ship, the Infinity, from Prodigy Season 2, in its original flight configuration.
And I'm sure we'll look at it in its altered form later.
Morpheus will be there joining us to help give us things, and the Oracle will Skype in to go to all the deets.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, let us know what you thought about this ship and about our discussion on it. Did we suss out anything you didn't notice? Let us know in the comments section, and be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button, and also make sure you click the notification bell icon, because we do a lot of breakdowns like this, both live and edited, and we have a lot of discussions about Trek in general live, and we want you guys to join us, so get notified.
If you want to encourage more content in this detailed form, then support us directly if you are able via Patreon. It's monthly, or join the channel on YouTube, also monthly. Each and every month donation does make a big difference. It helps us not be slaves of the YouTube algorithm quite as much. Or one-time donations via Super Chat during any live. You see us, if we're live, throw in $2 and say hi, or a big salient point and change the whole course of the live for even more. Or one-time donation at trekyards@hotmail.com, or super thanks. It's like a Super Chat on any video like this.
So until next time, he's Commander Cockings.
He's Captain Foley.
We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.